Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor at USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Y'all blessed? Dr. Shealy, are you blessed?
Yes.
We're broadcasting live without a safety net. And the reason I say that, class, is we're having a small emergency right here at the farm right now. And as many of you may know, we heat our house and our domestic hot water with an outdoor wood furnace. And what we do is we put wood in there and it heats this water tank that surrounds the firebox. So this thing's outside. It looks like the size of a backdoor shed with a chimney. That's what it looks like. It's all made out of steel. And it holds about 400 gallons of water. And that water is the reservoir that is pumped underground through to the house. And then it heats the hot water in the hot water heater, and it also heats the heat exchangers in the ductwork. Well, the pump failed last night that circulates the water. So as that failed, the water in the outdoor wood furnace got hotter and hotter and hotter. And this morning, Mrs. Finelli was checking on it, and she said it hit 213 degrees. As y'all know, the water boils at 212 at sea level. It boils at a lower temperature up here in the mountains. And so it's a small emergency. So our son said, "So can you help me right now?" And I said, "I'm going on the air." He goes, "Yeah." So here he is. He's swapping out the pump. And so I've been running around like a madman trying to get the system hooked up so we can put more water into the reservoir. So these things happen, and they happen sometimes live without a safety net. So class, if you think about, water comes out of the faucet, food comes out of the grocery store, etc. It's not magic. There are things that are necessary to make our lives a little bit more pleasant. And this pump, it's made by a company called Taco, T-A-C-O, or Taco, T-A-C-O. And they last about 2 or 3 years, and then they quit. So we keep about 6 of them on hand as spares. Well, I'll tell you why, Dr. Shealy. They used to be about $78, $88, $98, $108, $128. They keep going up and up in price. So I figured, well, what the heck? We'll get, a decade's worth. And they may even stop making them. Who knows, right? So that's why we keep that many in stock. So we're ready to go. It's just that we thought that this failure was going to happen in a couple days. And, I'd get a chance to fix it this afternoon. That was my plan. But, I was preempted by the failure. So I just wanted to share with our class, things happen. And, it's just the way life is. And, anyway, Dr. Shealy, anything new with you that you'd like to share before we get into some of my questions?
Nope. Open line Monday.
Okay. All right. So, Dr. Shealy and class, weeks ago, I was invited by my pulmonologist at the hospital to come in and discuss the results of my latest CAT scan. So I've had, I think 3 of them so far over, a bunch of years. And they want to see if I still have a pulse. So I made that appointment and I went. And, typically I don't like being late. So I arrived early. So I don't like to keep people waiting, for me because of, my carelessness, if you will. So I want to make sure that I'm there on time. So I do everything I can to make sure I'm not careless. And so, my son and I were in the parking lot in the truck at the hospital. That's where the appointment was. And in Springfield, Missouri. And so we're sitting in the truck waiting until about, maybe 5 minutes before the appointment, arrival time. And so we got out of the car and they require masks. So he was putting his mask on. He got out the passenger side. I got out the driver's side. I was putting my mask on. And I saw this guy coming toward us. You know, he's kind of standing around. Then all of a sudden he's coming toward us. Middle-aged guy, maybe in his 40s. And it looked like he wanted to be friends. But he had some special characteristics that, you know, made it interesting. One, he had tattoos like all over his hands, his arms. He was wearing like a short sleeve shirt. And his face. His neck was tattooed. His face was tattooed. I'm talking about, you know, his cheeks, his forehead, his neck. This guy was like, he went for the 100% coverage tattoo system. And so he was coming towards me, and I thought, I don't really like this. I don't want to pull a gun on him. I don't want, you know, I want him to stay away. I wanted to be polite and still make friends at the same time. So what I did, Dr. Shealy, was, and I planned on doing this, but I thought it'd be at a different kind of a situation. So what I did was, as he got really close, maybe 6 feet away, maybe 8, I put up my finger like, just a minute, please. You know, like if you're going to say something and you know, you just want to take that swallow or whatever it is, you don't say it in words. You just put your finger up and you say just a minute without saying it. Okay. So I put my finger up and the next thing I did was like that. Do you know he didn't want to be friends after that? Absolutely true. Now, I didn't think I was going to do it, you know, for that reason. I had it in the back of my mind that someday I was going to be doing this. And I thought, you know, people are concerned about COVID and catching it and, you know, those kinds of things. And I think that's all reasonable. But this guy obviously wanted money or something, probably money. And so I was hacking for about, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 seconds, something like that. And as I did that, he took off. I mean, he couldn't get out of there fast enough. And then when he was maybe 50, 60 feet away, he yelled back, "Hey man, like all I wanted was directions, man." But he was a beggar. He had his backpack on. Looked like he had all of his worldly possessions on his back. And it looked like he had made lots of strategic and tactical mistakes, like tattooing his whole face. And the only kind of job that I could think that he could be hired for would be a warehouse job where, you know, public wouldn't see him, or you know, a telemarketer or something like that. But he certainly wouldn't be suitable, in my opinion, for interfacing with the public. I mean, you wouldn't want a nurse that looked like that. You wouldn't want a doctor that looked like that. You wouldn't even want a restaurant server that looked like that, right?
Absolutely.
So those are my thoughts about what I did. By the way, I really thought that would be the thing that I would do if the police pulled me over, you know, and said, license and registration, coming up to my door, and I'd roll my window down, and license and registration. I thought, you know, to be polite, I'd cough in my hands, you know, hack in my hands, and then kind of wipe my wet hands on my blue jeans, and then say, my license is in my pocket, my rear pocket. It would be okay if I go get it. And I figured they'd say, I tell you what, never mind. That's my thought. Any comments about Vinny's antics or his latest antics?
Be prepared.
Yeah. So, class, you know, think about the situations that may occur to you and what you would do. You know, the time to think about what you might do in a strange situation is way before. So, I mean, I knew I was going to do this. I just didn't know exactly when. And this guy was my first chance to test it out. And it absolutely, positively works. It seems to me that if someone coughs in a room, every head turns toward that person. Every head. That's my experience. So, Dr. Shealy, I had a really wonderful experience last week. Dr. Amber Abernethy came on the air with us, and she taught a class about conscientious psychology. And what a pick you made in the selection of Dr. Amber Abernethy. She is a fireball. I mean, she's got a lot of energy. She's got a lot of information. She can deliver it quickly, efficiently, concisely. What a hoot in terms of being on the air. I mean, she's great. Any comments about her?
Well, she is a good person. I'm very happy to have her in the position of a conscientious psychologist.
Yeah. And she's going to come back on the air with us, I believe, this week, later on this week. I think it's the 28th, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have the calendar in front of me. And we talked about a bunch of things, some of the studies that she is working on with you, that you wanted to find some statistical answers to. And one of the things that she mentioned was the pulsed electromagnetic frequency device study. And she mentioned that she is using it as well as I am. And she said that she has these vivid dreams. Not only does she have them, there are some people who are in the study that have them, and they're so vivid that one person just can't do it because they're powerful dreams. And I have to say that the dreams that I have are absolutely powerful. And there's things that, it's not like I'm dreaming about something I dread, or I'm dreaming about something I did in the past, or I'm dreaming about something I want to do. I mean, these are like strange dreams. Let me give you an example. One of them, and I only remember a little bit of it, was someone needed a ride. And I don't know where to. I don't know where the ride was going, but this person needed a ride. I don't know how I got involved in this thing. And I didn't have a vehicle, which is really strange because, we do. So, and I don't even know if it was a he or a she that needed the ride, but we'll say they. They needed a ride. I was trying to help. I don't know why I was trying to help because I didn't even know this person. I don't know if it was an emergency or just needed a ride, down the road. I have no idea what it was about. But that was a dream, and it lasted for hours. And I was frantically trying to help this person, by providing a ride. That's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. Now, am I in the business of worrying about giving people rides? Absolutely not. Any thoughts about what this might mean, Dr. Shealy?
Well, in general, I've never been as certain as Carl Jung was that dreams have meaning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mine are so all over the place. And I always have been a heavy dreamer. So I wouldn't know if it made a change because I call it what I do wall-to-wall dreaming all night.
Okay. And are they in color or black and white?
Oh, always in color.
And do they have sound?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Voices, sound.
Okay. And when you dream, do you think that you're running? I mean, are you in their bed like doing a marathon or jumping off the high dive?
I'm flying. Sometimes I'm flying in midair.
Yeah.
And always speedy.
Yeah. So are you saying that your dreams are always something that is of an urgent need for you to respond? Is that what you're saying?
I would say just active.
Okay. Seems like here's an example of a type of a dream that I've had in the past, not recently, but I'm in the water and I'm swimming and I'm trying to get to land, and it's really tough. And I'm swimming. And it's like for hours I'm swimming. I'm worn out. I mean, I am absolutely flat out worn out, and I don't even get there. And that would be the whole dream. The whole dream would be one continuation of that. We'll be back with Dr. Norm Shealy, medical doctor, in just a couple minutes, right after these commercial announcements. Class Dr. Norm Shealy is with us. And if you'd like to contact his office, see if you'd like to get an appointment with medical doctor, Dr. Norm Shealy, 417-351-5221, 417-351-5221. And please call during business hours, and you'll reach his office, and one of the staff will make sure that Dr. Shealy is aware of whatever it is that you'd like. And so you can get a telecommunications type of doctor's appointment. You can schedule an in-person visit with him and meet him in person. So, or if you just want to have a telephone conversation, that can happen. So it all has to be scheduled, but 417-351-5221. Any comments about that, Dr. Shealy?
Well, we're here to help those who are ready to escape the system. Well,
yeah.
I mean, I wrote a book years ago called Third Party Rape. And the third party includes the government, of course, the legal profession, the and to a large extent, the medical profession and the insurance mafia. But other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, the play goes on.
So that includes the government, the legal profession, hospitals, and the insurance, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I have a copy of the book. Thank you very much. Mine is personalized. Thank you, Dr. Shealy. Yeah. And how many books are you up to at the moment?
40.
40. Yeah. I was going to say 39, so I'm off by a couple of days. Yeah. Anything new in your world that you think we need to know about?
Well, the one that I'm most intrigued with for the last month is colloidal gold.
Mm-hmm.
It's been around for almost 200 years, and interestingly, although everybody almost knows about colloidal silver, the information about colloidal gold is not widespread, and it does appear to have a more generalized effect on the immune system than just colloidal silver, which seems to help immediately. But the colloidal gold appears to have a constant re-energizing, if you will, of the natural immune system.
Mm-hmm. Are you going to make your own colloidal gold?
I'm not. It's intriguing, obviously, but honestly, when it comes to drinking something, I don't feel comfortable making my own.
Okay. Well, I bought a total dissolved solids meter. You can buy them on the internet. It's like $10 or $15. And what you do is this is kind of like a fat thermometer, if you will, or a squared type of shape for a fat magic marker. I mean, it's about that size. And it's battery powered and has a LED or a LCD, liquid crystal display. And all you do is you put the tip of this in water, and it will tell you the total dissolved solids. So if you start out with, water from the tap, you're going to get a measure of the total dissolved solids in your tap water. If you then rinse that off with distilled water, rinse off the tip of this meter with distilled water, and then put it in a fresh, small amount of distilled water, you only need about an ounce. It will tell you that there's no total dissolved solids if it's really truly distilled water. So if you take distilled water and then you create colloidal silver, for example, you can check the process while you're creating it, and that's simply with electrolysis, a battery plus and minus, direct current, maybe 27 volts. Use a limiting resistor so that you limit the amount of current that goes through these two, the anode and the cathode of the silver wire maybe that you're using, and you can determine how many parts per million, like 5 or 20 or 100 or whatever. And so it can be done in class. If you want to look that up, you can. So I was thinking that you just take two gold coins and 2 alligator clips, and you want to make sure the alligator clips don't get into the distilled water, and you use the gold coins as your anode and cathode. Now, of course, they're going to be large. They have to be large enough to be partially dipped into the distilled water without the alligator clips getting into the distilled water. And you can run it with some battery power, or you can make a power supply. It has to be DC. And you can check on how many parts per million. The trick, I think the trick is finding the gold coins, because if you use 1 ounces, they're going to be about $2,000 a piece. So it's going to be a $4,000 project without the alligator clips and the batteries. If you use 1 ounce gold coins, and you want to get them triple or quad 9, 0.999 or 0.9999. Dr. Norm Shealy's with us. Dr. Shealy, are you making colloidal gold available at your website?
Well, I'm trying to get there are 2 companies that I like, and we've written to both of them to see if we can become distributors, because I want to be sure that whatever we sell is good. So right now, we don't have it, but I hope we will. I won't know for another week, maybe. Okay.
And do you know about the relative cost, not the exact cost, but relative compared to colloidal silver?
Actually, it's really not that different. I mean, I would say when you look at the volume involved, it's minimally more expensive than colloidal silver.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what are your thoughts about colloidal silver being used to treat diseases?
Well, there's no question it does help the immediate immune system. And I've recommended for many, many years Argentin 23, Argentyn 23. That's the one I keep on hand.
Argentin 23, Argentyn. Is that available on your website?
No. Again, we're not able to become distributors of it, but it's a good one.
Okay. Well, I use colloidal silver every day, Dr. Shealy, and I'm not recommending that anyone do what I do because I do it, but I'm just saying, here's what I've done. So I've had this lung problem where I have scar tissue. And so to keep from getting pneumonia, what I do is I take a spray of 100 parts per million colloidal silver, and I will open my mouth, inhale it at the same time I'm spraying it. So it's a fine mist, and it's not like a nebulizer exactly. It's not that fine. And it coats my throat, and I think it actually works to prevent infections / pneumonia. Any comments about that, Dr. Shealy?
I think that's a great program. Definitely, no question about it.
Okay. So, class, I have been doing that, and I've been following Dr. Shealy's protocol, and a lot of things have happened. I have been, I've been seen by the pulmonology department at the hospital and also a university hospital, and they are kind of surprised that my scar tissue is getting smaller. Now, they would think that it'd be getting bigger, and it's getting smaller. So I don't think they've seen this very often. But then again, I'm not following exactly only the protocols of a typical hospital recommendations. I'm taking large doses of vitamin C that Dr. Shealy recommended, Dr. Shealy's youth formula to be specific. It's right here in the studio. And I take Dr. Shealy's Essentials, which is his multivitamin, and I take serapeptase. I take glucan. I take ashwagandha root powder, and I take taurine, and I take turmeric curcumin complex, and then of course the colloidal silver spray down my throat and into my lungs by inhaling it, and eating right. So that means no colored soda, just like no orange and no grape color and purple and blue and green and all these. I don't drink much soda anyway, and probably a 6-pack if it would last me a couple of years. They have red dye in soda. I mean, really, why do you need red dye in soda? And if you haven't had soda for years and you go to try one, you go, what? I'm not sure why I used to think this stuff was good. It's terrible. It's really terrible. And once you start drinking just water, filtered water, ProPure water, for example, you get used to it, and you don't want other things. As a matter of fact, Dr. Shealy, something interesting has happened. I decided to cut out coffee. Decaffeinated coffee, regular coffee, 50-50 mix of decaffeinated and regular. And I did it, and then my wife said, well, shoot, if you're not going to have coffee, then no sense in firing up the coffee pot. And our son said, if you're not going to do it, I'm not going to do it. So now we don't drink any coffee. And no one seems to miss it, Dr. Shealy. Nobody.
Well, it's interesting. I do like Earl Grey tea. Earl Grey tea has bergamot in it. The bergamot itself is really good for the brain.
I'm so glad you said that, because I didn't understand why the English were so keen on Earl Grey tea. Okay, so it's brain food.
It is brain food, and it's safe.
Okay.
In fact, I get dashes double bergamot, more than single bergamot.
Mm-hmm. And what are your thoughts in general about tea?
Well, the amount of caffeine is half or less what it is in coffee. And in general, I consider a cup of tea or two a day perfectly fine.
And how do you feel about
bergamot?
Okay. How about green tea versus orange pico tea?
Well, according to some studies, green tea is better for the immune system, but I happen personally to prefer black tea just to taste.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Dr. Shealy, I did something that I do on a consistent basis. I don't do it very often. But when I hear a commercial on Genesis Communications Network, I hear the commercial, and I listen for the phone number and I write it down during the broadcast. And then during maybe the next break, I will call that company. I'll say, hi, I'm Vin Finelli, and I'm part of a radio broadcast classroom, and you guys are advertising on our broadcast, and I just want to say thank you. And I'd like to talk to the CEO. Well, I heard this commercial, and I just, for the life of me, I couldn't figure out what the company's name was. And I'll tell you what they say, and I couldn't figure it out. Tahibo Tea Club. I didn't know what that meant, Tahibo Tea Club. So I didn't know if it was the name of a person, Tahibo, or what. So the website, I heard him say shopsupertea.com. So I went to shopsupertea.com and I found the telephone number and I called it. And the owner of the company answered the phone, and I explained to him that I'm Vin Finelli, and this is what we do, and I just want to say thank you. That's all. The only reason I called is to say thank you. And I think he was kind of surprised that a broadcaster would call and say thank you to a sponsor. Now I said, now I'm not receiving any revenue from this. You're actually paying Genesis Communications Network, and they are kind enough to let us broadcast there. So yeah, I really appreciate it, and I know they appreciate it. And so, but you know what? I just want you all to know that, when you say Tahibo Tea Club, I don't know what you're saying. I don't know what to type in. I just want to let you know that it's really kind of confusing to me. And he said, yeah, and he agrees. And so I don't know if he's going to change his commercial or what. But I had a great little chat with him, and I said, you know what? You've got this information about how this is beneficial to the immune system, etc. I'd like you to come on the air. So here's what this is, Dr. Shealy. It's Tahibo, Taheebo, Tahibo. Have you heard of that kind of tea? Because I have not. I heard the ad this morning, but I have not personally heard of that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, he said, he wanted, I didn't ask him for anything. I didn't ask him for favors or anything. I just said, I'm just glad that you're broadcasting, but I do want you to know that I can't figure out what Tahibo, how to spell it, etc. And so I invited him to come on the air and talk about his tea, because I do that every once in a while if I like the people. If I don't like them, I don't do that. So he said he wanted to send me something. And I said, well, normally I don't accept gifts like that, but I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I will try it, and I will report back what I think. And if you agree to that, great. So he sent me some. So next time I swing by, I've got some sealed packages of it. Next time I swing by, I'd like to bring some your way, Dr. Shealy, if you would like to try it and tell me what you think as well.
Of course, I do I grew up on tea rather than coffee. Mm-hmm. And I guess I've had it all my life. In the summer, of course, I drink it iced tea with peppermint. Yeah. Yeah. And I remember that back in the 60s and the 50s with my mom making iced tea and going out into the garden and picking some mint, and we didn't call it peppermint or spearmint, we just called it mint. And evidently, I checked with Mrs. Finelli, we have both here at our farm and those plants take over. So,
You know, they don't like being lonely, so they invite all their friends. And once you get, one plant of it, you've got 1,000, literally. So our whole garden, our whole raised bed garden is surrounded by mint plants. But, yeah. Okay, so, next time I'm in Springfield, I'll drop one of these sealed packages off your way. Now, it's a bark, and I don't know much about it, but, evidently, they've done some studies with brain cancer and diabetes and colon and pancreatic cancer and tooth infection, etc. So I'm looking forward to learning more about this. Okay, so I'm actually a fan of green tea, and that's what I've been drinking, probably for the last 30 years or so. But okay, when we were talking last week with Dr. Amber Abernathy from your passion, which is conscientious psychology. We're talking about a new invention of yours, which is an oil to treat pain. And I sent you an email about that. Is that something that you can discuss on the air or not?
Yeah. So far we have only 5 people who've tried it, and all of us think it relieves pain excellent with no side effects. I do want to get at least 10 before we put it on the market, but it is one of my most unusual blends because it has no carrier oil in it. It's all direct oils, but they're 5 different blends.
And can you tell the class how it would be applied? So, for example, let's say a person has let's say you have a regular knee, but it hurts. I mean, not an artificial knee.
Well, it's a roll-on bottle, and you just roll it all around the area of pain. You could do the whole knee, or if it's only half of the knee, you can roll it on. But just cover the area that's pain. Cover the skin over which or under which there's pain.
Mm-hmm. So it's just like the fire bliss, the air bliss, the water bliss, the crystal bliss.
Well, there you're just applying it to a spot,
Right.
But here you're applying to a broader area of pain.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it could be 5 or 10 inches in diameter, even.
Okay. How long does it take to work?
In general, anywhere from 10 to 60 minutes.
Okay. Very good. We'll be back with Dr. Shealy right after these few short commercial announcements. So I just checked on the family, see how they're doing, and everything's really working well, except for the one of the Chinese fittings that you can only buy Chinese fittings today in our plumbing system that handles the hot water from the outdoor wood furnace blew. So they're trying to prevent a flood in the basement. That's the kind of stuff that's going on. I got to tell you, on Thursday and Friday, I think maybe I'm going to turn them into Vinny Bash's The Chinese Cheap Junky Products class. I'll be talking about, I think, hour number 1 on Thursday will be just probably me. Maybe Kyle will be joining me. And possibly on Friday, there's an hour with me. And no, there isn't, just Thursday. And so I'm going to be talking about these substandard junky Chinese products. I mean, I hate them. Dr. Shealy, yesterday I called Harbor Freight Tools. It's a Chinese factory tool outlet almost in the United States, and they've destroyed pretty much Craftsman, the Sears Craftsman brand. So because they sell cheap tools and people will buy them instead of Craftsman. Well, we had one of those air hoses that you inflate tires with, one of those red rubber ones, the heavy duty ones. Had it in the barn a couple of years, and all of a sudden, boom, it blew. And it says, don't exceed 300 pounds per square inch. Well, we only reach 100 pounds per square inch. So we're like we're only 1/3 of the maximum pressure. It should be fine. There's no such air hose that can't handle 100 pounds of pressure. Anyway, so I looked at this darn hose, and it's in the barn. It's out of the sun, and it's cracked like every 1/8 of an inch. Just bend this hose, and you can see all these little cracks in them, these ozone cracks. And what the Chinese do in a lot of their products is they don't put these stabilizers to ensure longevity in rubber products. And that includes tires. So I decided to call. I was furious. I mean, I've got 2 50-footers, and I called up Harbor Freight, and I said, hey, I'm Vincent, and so I bought 2 of your hoses, and they've lasted a couple years, and then one of them blew. And so, what can you do to help me? And they said, well, it was only a 90-day warranty on them. And I said, yeah, so what can you do to help me? They said, well, we're only warranted for 90 days. And I said, okay, help me understand. So are you saying that, if I buy one of these, I just keep it for 90 days and then throw it away? Is that what you're saying? And the guy said, this is above my pay grade. Let me get the manager. So I get this gal who's the manager, and she says, look, they're only guaranteed for 90 days. And she said, you get what you pay for. And I said, actually, you don't get what you pay for, because you say that it's a heavy, long-lasting rubber hose. You don't say this is only going to last 90 days, and if you're only going to use it for 90 days, this is perfect. But I said, you don't say that in your description on the internet. She said, we're only going to warranty it for 90 days, and that's it, period.
Well, in my opinion, nothing from China is worthwhile except fireworks.
Yeah. Well,
I wish we didn't have anything allowed to be imported into this country except fireworks from China. Nothing else should be allowed in the country.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you, and it's our political system, which is something that you were talking about, third-party rape in the beginning of the broadcast. That includes the government, the legal system, insurance system, and the hospitalization system. So our government was involved and complicit in allowing these junky substandard Chinese products to come into our country. And I'm talking about junky substandard Chinese steel that rusts like crazy. We never had these problems before we started importing this Chinese junk. So, the gal, by the way, the store manager said, if you buy a Snap-on tool, now Snap-on is the most expensive, probably best tool ever made in its class. If it's a wrench, Snap-on wrenches are top of the line. If it's a socket set, they're the top of the line. If it's screwdrivers, the same thing. And she said to me, Snap-on tools aren't returned, as often. So you get what you pay for. And I said, well, I've got a couple Snap-on tools, and I've never had a problem with them. But in terms of your Harbor Freight ratcheting breaker bar, we've broken 3 of those. In terms of your Harbor Freight wobble 3/8 and extension socket extensions, we break them all the time. I said they're substandard. And, she knew it. She knew they're substandard. But here's what happened. Because they have dominated the market, there's some things that you can only get from those lousy Harbor Freight people. It's wrong.
I personally think everybody ought to sue every company in this country who has things made who has things made in China. Mm-hmm. Ought to sue the companies, because they should be making them here, not in China.
Yeah, or just bring it all back and start raising your voice like this thing failed, and say, I don't expect it to fail. I want it replaced, or I want my money back, and I'll go buy it someplace else. But the problem is, where else are you going to get it? They've dominated the market so much that the Chinese are the only ones that make it in terms of tools. We'll be right back. Y'all looking for me? Hey, I'm sorry. We just have, a major catastrophe here at the farm, and I just had to stop the flooding in the basement. But yeah, I'm here. Okay, so we stopped the flooding. I'm sorry about that.
Wow.
Well, and the problem was the water that was flooding the basement is overboiling. So it was really, really hot. By the way, Dr. Shealy, what do you do about burns? Our son just got 3 burns from boiling water.
Well, of course, I put ice on it to stop the pain immediately. But how extensive are they?
Oh, not too extensive. Just on his hands. He didn't realize how hot the water was, but it was, over 212 degrees, or 212. Yeah.
If it's not blistered,
Yeah.
Here's a place where I would also, as soon as it's settled down a little bit, try the Pain Bliss.
Okay.
Roll on.
Okay.
Because those birds hurt.
Yeah. Hey, Jason, I can hear you. Hey, Jason. Hey, Jason. I can hear you.
All of a sudden, we're alone.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. So, Dr. Shealy, I was thinking back years ago, back in the 70s, people used to take a headache powder, and I think it was called Goody's headache powder. And I thought, isn't that interesting? They open this little packet, and like the size of a sugar packet, and they'd pour it into some water, stir it around, drink it. And I would just take an aspirin if I were going to do that. So the question that I have, is there a reason to dissolve the equivalent of aspirin in water rather than just take an aspirin chased down by some water? Is there a time difference?
I know of no reason to do that. No.
Okay. All right. I was looking up processed foods, and there's a term that is used, the letter U, the letter P, and the letter F, and that stands for ultra-processed foods. So there was this guy who decided he would, I guess, do what most people did during the Corona panic, and that was eat ultra-processed foods. So 80% of his foods were ultra-processed, and he found that it didn't work so well for him. So for 4 weeks, he piled on some fat, and going from a healthy weight to being overweight in just 4 weeks. At the same time, he was thinking he was becoming sluggish and slept badly, lying in bed, racked with anxiety, sweating with fears about everyday life. He developed heartburn and constipation. He got piles. Are piles hemorrhoids? Is that what those things are?
Yep.
Yeah. So, and then he said, worst of all, his brain rewired itself as if he had developed an addiction to drugs. And this is all not drugs. It's all, other than what's in food, ultra-processed food. And it actually frightened this guy. And he doesn't look like, a dummy. So he refers to ultra-processed food, and he says it's prepared in a factory, wrapped in plastic, contains ingredients that you typically don't find in a domestic kitchen, such as emulsifiers, humecants, 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 and preservatives, bulking agents, flavoring, and emulsifiers, and stabilizers.
Pure junk. Pure,
yeah.
K-U-N-K.
And you've been saying that for as long as I've known you, Dr. Shealy, over 10 years that you've been saying that, don't shop in the, just shop in the outside, perimeter of a supermarket, because anything in the middle is just that. It's, electric green, electric blue, electric orange, just go down the soda aisle at the Chinese factory outlet, just for your own amusement, and you won't believe the colors. I don't think those colors, just arrive in nature. I think they have to do extra work to make the green and the blues and so forth. So this ultra processed food, seems to make up about 2/3 of the calories that people in the United Kingdom eat. And it looks like it's causing the epidemic of obesity in children, etc. And it is making their brains not work properly. Any comments about that, how it affects the brain, Dr. Shealy?
Well, it's junk, and junk damages everything. And the control center is the brain. So, just as I have not been to a fast food restaurant since 1962 when I took one bite and spit it out, I don't go to those kind of junk places. Mm-hmm. I don't buy it in a grocery store. I don't buy it in a stupid restaurant.
We've mentioned this in the past that my mom used to listen to the radio in the 1960s, and I would hear it in the kitchen when I was in the kitchen with her. And sometimes there would be Dr. Carlton Fredericks, and he was a professor at Fairleigh Dickinson University, and he would broadcast on a powerful station out of New York City. So it would travel really far. So you could get this for hundreds of miles. Anyway, so that he would say things like, "You are what you eat." Your comments?
Yes. Eat junk and you become junk. And your brain becomes junkified.
Well, that's what it seemed like to me, that you are what you eat. And, you look at people who are careless and ignorant about what they are consuming, and it's obvious. As a matter of fact, if you go to any McDonald's class, and if you look at the employees who have been there for years. Now, I'm not suggesting you go to McDonald's for any reason other than to make this observation. You will find pleasingly and unpleasingly plump employees working there. And if you ask them, and I have, so how's the food here? They'll say, "Oh, it's great. It is great." And so do you eat here often? "Oh, yeah, every day. Every day." "And so you really like it?" "Yeah." And then, you have to bite your tongue and not say, "Well, it looks like you're wearing it," every bite you're wearing it. And that's the fact of the matter.
And so it's hard to fix stupid. It really is hard to fix stupid.
Yeah. And, I remember being at the Olive Garden, and I haven't been there in years and years and years. I remember the Olive Garden restaurant in Springfield. My mom used to like that. I happen to like their salad, their, unending salad bowl. But the waitress or the waiter would come around and they'd say, they didn't say, "So what do you think of that nutrition? Was that healthy or what?" They didn't say that. What they said was, how did it taste? And the only answer I can think of is, "Well, it tastes great because you guys have one of the best laboratories in the world to make sure that we say that." Isn't that true? Don't they have a laboratory where they engineer the food to taste great? The heck with nutrition. It's just, does it taste great? And that's why people go to a restaurant, because they cannot duplicate at home the taste at a restaurant. So, for example, a Chinese restaurant. If you go to a Chinese restaurant and you go, "You know what? I throw the carrots in here. There's some celery in here. There's some soy sauce in here. There's some noodles in here. There's some chicken in here. I can make that. Some onions." You go home, you can't make it. You cannot make it taste that good because you haven't added the MSG. Dr. Shealy, your thoughts?
Yeah, and between monosodium glutamate and white rice, a Chinese restaurant is at least as bad as McDonald's.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there was a story many years ago that I heard, and I don't think this was a news story. I think this was just passed on, kind of like, here's something that I heard. So, an owner of one of these Chinese restaurants was asked something like this. I'm paraphrasing. "So, you really like MSG?" And he said, "No, but my customers do."
Well, some honesty.
Yeah. And so, and if you are going to go to a Chinese restaurant, and if you trust them, and you say, "I'll tell you what, I'm highly allergic to MSG, and I'd like you to prepare a lunch for me without MSG." Now, if you put MSG in it, the ambulances are going to all be here. So, you need to let them know that you're not kidding. And so, if there's even a hint of MSG, there's going to be an ambulance or two or three here as a result of the shock I'm going to go into. So, can you make lunch for me without MSG? Now, if you have that, if you do that, you're going to find out it tastes just like that lunch you make at home without MSG. It's going to taste lousy as compared to the great taste you're expecting from the Chinese restaurant. And also, Dr. Shealy, I've noticed that, this was many, many years ago, that I feel kind of weird after having lunch at a Chinese restaurant. So, when I was at KWTO, I might swing over after the broadcast to the Chinese restaurant in town, and I feel like a tingling sensation, almost like a nervousness, like an adrenaline fueled condition. Is that what MSG does?
Yep, it is poison.
Mm-hmm. And doesn't it set our taste buds in a frenzy?
Well, it actually titillates, if you will, your taste buds, but it absolutely is dangerous to your mind. That's its biggest problem.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Are there any studies that you're working on that you'd like to share with us?
No, actually, the only one I'm really working on at the moment is getting 5 more people to try our Pain Bliss rub-on at no charge. So anybody who's got, reasonably localized, not more than a foot or 2 in diameter area of pain, it's worth trying.
Okay, so what do you want them to call your number, your main number?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Dr. Shealy, if you don't mind, please tell our class that number.
417-351-5221. Just say you want to enroll in the pain study, and you will be set up with an appointment at no charge.
Okay, class, so repeating the pain study with Dr. Norm Shealy. You'll be meeting him, and you'll be supplied with the oil for treating your pain at no charge, and you'll be reporting results back to Dr. Norm Shealy. So 5 more individuals. I believe one of our family is going to try that with you, and so I'm working on that. And thank you for extending that to us, Dr. Shealy. We'll be right back. Oh, jeez. Charles, I am so sorry. I did not have the call screen prominent on my computer, and so I didn't know that you've been on hold for like 27 minutes. So, Charles, it's been no excuses, but, we were dealing with minimizing the damage from the flood in the basement due to the hot water heater that was leaking and blew a pipe into the basement. And so we're trying to resolve that. And at the same time, I'm trying to do a broadcast, so I didn't know that you were on. So welcome, Charles, and thank you for being so patient.
Oh, thank you very much, and it's no problem at all. And I just like to say good morning to you, the doctor, and the class, and I hope everyone's well.
Well, thank you. What can we help you with?
I just had a couple things that I can't imagine how busy the doctor is with his study, but if he gets a chance, maybe, and you may have commented on these, but I could have missed it. I understand there's a difference between colloidal silver, mild silver proteins, and silver citrate. Well, there's also a white gold ormus that is supposed to have some unique health benefits. And there's also a product that's going around now called C60. It's an ingestible form of carbon ball that they were doing a study because they figured we would be doing a lot of manufacturing with the carbon balls because of the new technology, and they did it on Worcester lab rats, I think it was, and they doubled their lifespan. And there's people manufacturing it and people buying it, and they're attributing some health benefits to that also. And I thought they were both interesting products.
Dr. Shealy, do you have any comments on Carbon 60?
Well, Carbon 60 I know about, and it does have some benefits. Its best benefit seems to be to the skin, in my experience of what I've read about it. It helps to rejuvenate the skin, especially. Helps all kinds of skin problems, but it may well have other benefits I am not aware of.
Well, I can tell you, Charles, that I had taken Carbon 60, probably consumed a total of 3 ounces over several months, probably ending about 6 months ago. And I would take several drops at a time, drop it into my mouth, swish it around, and then swallow it. And I've heard you don't have to do that; it makes no difference. Other recommendations on the internet are, I know you really need to swish it around. What have you heard about that, Charles?
Well, they did with the study they did, they gave an equivalent ratio for like an average adult, and they were figuring you need to take I believe it's like 2 tablespoons, something similar, about that much daily, and they recommend in the morning. And they said that they thought that one of the first benefits you would see is improved sleeping. And as far as swishing in the mouth, mostly like the liposomal or the absorbable stuff that you want to get into the bloodstream quicker is what you do that with. So the thing is, they do recommend you swish the C60 because it's supposed to be beneficial for like your oral health, and it's I believe it's kind of like a solvent that will help dissolve plaques and stuff in the mouth. Is what I understood.
All right. So, Dr. Shealy, carbon. If you have toxicity in your body, isn't carbon one of the best ways to remove those toxins from your body?
Yes, of course, that's one possibility.
So I'm wondering, what is the difference between C60, carbon 60, or fullerenes or buckyballs? What's the difference between that and just taking one of those from the big box stores, a capsule with activated charcoal? Is that the same?
Oh, no, not at all. Activated charcoal actually just attracts things in the intestine. It doesn't do anything active in the bloodstream.
Okay. And I understand that if you take carbon and you mix it with olive oil and you stir it like for a month or two, you can actually make C60. I don't know if that's true or not, but we'll be right back. Hour number 1, I'll be talking about how to buy a used car directly from the owner and what to look for, how to do it. And if you'd like, I can talk about what happened with the Citgo 303 hydraulic fluid class action suit, because I was part of it. And if you want me to talk about that, I will, but I don't want to talk about it unless there's some interest. So I don't want to bore you with it, but I was involved with it, and I can tell you how I was involved with it. So if you're interested, send me an email, instructor@usaprepares.com, instructor@usaprepares.com, and just let me know that if you're interested in talking about the 303 tractor hydraulic fluid. And I'll talk about that on Thursday, hour number 1, when we also talk with Kyle about how to buy a used car without buying it from a dealer, buying it directly from the seller. Let's see, hour number 2, Stuart's going to join us. And Stuart is the gentleman, he's our neighbor, who, I think he said when he was 8, his mother left, and when he was 15, his father died, and he was left all alone on the farm. And the bank wanted to repossess the farm, and so they sold off everything at auction, and he ended up, after paying all the bills, with 37 cents, enough to buy some Snicker bars at 5 cents apiece, and that's how he survived for his first week, and he's going to tell us that story. And that is a story of starting over at 15 years old. What a story that is. And then let's see, hour number 2, Bert is going to be joining us for hour number 2. Okay, and I think Amber Abernathy is going to be with us hour number 1, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, back to you, Charles. Colloidal Gold.
Yes. There was one thing I wanted to say. Canned green beans. For some reason, the juice out of a can of green beans is supposed to be very beneficial for burns. I know it's been a minute, but that might possibly help. Okay,
I didn't know that. What I have been doing, though, and I'd like to share this with you and Dr. Shealy in the class. So I really, if I gain, I'm at 138 pounds typically. If I bump that up 2 pounds, I don't like it. So what I'll do is I'll take a can of green beans and I'll add some olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. I'll put it in a pan and I'll heat it up. I'll add some fresh garlic. And after I've rinsed the green beans 3 or 4 times or 5 times to get all the salt that I can out of it. I rinse it with water. Then I put it in a pan. Then I add the olive oil and I add the garlic and I heat it up. And I have that as a meal. Dr. Shealy, any comments?
Well, where's your protein?
Well, no, I have protein as well. But what I'm saying is, I might have some chicken, some grilled chicken. I might have some beef. But yeah. But other than that, vegetable salad
green beans
and
are
some,
good.
Okay. Yeah.
And garlic.
Charles, any comments?
It sounds good to me. Tasty. And the thing, I've worried about my weight when I was younger and tried many different things to control it. And at this point in my life, I feel pretty comfortable. But I've done diets where you vary your carbohydrates, your proteins, and your fats. And it's interesting to see your just the way you feel and the way your body responds to those. Because I would be kind of active, and I could tell. I don't know the technical terms, but it seemed like my blood would hold glucose for like 3 days, and then I could be climbing a hill on a bicycle, and it would just turn off. And I know I achieved a certain level of energy in the blood, and it just helped me to understand how my body worked better. And I know I believe that you and Dr. Shealy neither are a fan of fasting. I'd kind of like to make a case for fasting real quick. You can imagine that maybe you put a deep cut in your hand and you continually use that hand every day for a half hour. That cut will have a great deal of difficulty healing, and you need to rest that hand to heal. And see, your digestive system, from what I understand, is one of the biggest users of energy in the body, and it all works out in numbers. It's all a recipe. I mean, anybody who's ever tried to get a loaf of bread to rise, you got to understand that like temperature and time always makes the difference. And so fasting for 3 days gives your body renewed energy, and it looks for stuff to repair and stuff to do. That's like if you use Wobazyme for scar tissue, for internal stuff, that can probably fix it fairly quickly. But for external stuff, any scarring like that, look for 7 years, because the turnover of those cells is a lot slower.
Dr. Shealy, your thoughts?
Well, to each our own. I'm 88, and I have never enjoyed fasting. I don't feel any increased energy ever. I've had to do it when I was in medical school for a week, and it was the worst week of my life almost. But we're all unique, and we're all individual. And for those who like to fast, go for it. I just don't personally. It's not my particular bag.
Mm-hmm. For those who might not be aware, Charles, and correct me if I'm wrong, Charles, I've never met you, but Charles is an instructor. And I don't think Charles is happy with anything the way it starts out. So, for example, if it's a car, specifically, Charles wants to improve it. He wants more miles per gallon. He wants it to ride better. He wants everything about it to be better, more efficient, etc. Charles, is that correct?
Yeah, that's a fair assessment.
Yep. And probably the same with the body. So if you can tweak your body, you're interested in doing that as well. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Hmm?
This is my vehicle. I neglect my car at times because this is America. They're a dime a dozen. But this is my only body. I try to maintain it in some ways, and I've made mistakes like everybody, but I've done okay.
Charles, may I ask how much you weigh now?
I'm about 145.
Yeah. Now, when you said you were a little heavier, my mental impression of you is that you're a pretty slim guy. I mean, not much fat anywhere. I mean, if you had to find some fat, you just wouldn't be able to. Is that correct?
I can find fat, but anytime I've had my body fat measured, it's usually single digit. And I've had doctors look at me and they'd say, as long as you feel okay, it doesn't bother them. But no, I have no problem with energy or anything, and most people look at me and would regard me as slim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Dr. Shealy, am I slim or am I not slim?
To me, you're thin, but that doesn't mean abnormal. You just don't have fat. You don't have excess fat.
Yeah. And I have a feeling Charles is the same way.
How tall are you, Charles?
I'm 5'9". Well, maybe 5'8", 5'9".
Yep, that is thin, but still normal and healthy.
So, Charles, are you like me? If you put on 2 or 3 extra pounds, you know it, and you want to get rid of it like right now? Is that like you? Is that you too?
Not so much. Like I say, when I monitored it, it wasn't that I would have a switch feeling bad. And see, about the most I've ever weighed in life was 160, and that was from the time when I was maybe 13 years old. And since then, it's very, very little. Heck, I still wear some clothes today, unfortunately. But to your question, I've been able, just through eating and activity, I know, well, you've overdone it, and then just leave it. But I can feel fat pockets disappear when I go on a strict fast, and I don't like fasting. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's worthwhile because of the studies they've done on it, and it does seem like it works. And for anybody who doesn't believe in alternative medicine and homeopathics and stuff, I'd say there's one thing, well, there's several things. I'd say when you have a cold or the flu, and colloidal silver and oregano and allicin, garlic, if you use them and you use them properly, like you've been prescribed it from a doctor, you will see results. And another thing is, you can see a very quick results in eyesight if you take like the astaxanthin, zeaxanthin, and lutein first thing in the morning for like 3 or 4 days, and then just check your vision before and after you've done it for maybe a week or so, and that's one of the quickest things that we'll see improvement, it seems like, eyesight.
And Dr. Shealy?
Well, astaxanthin, as you know, is one of my favorites, of course.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. Anything else, Charles?
No, I just appreciate you listening to me and giving me a little forum there for a second.
Yeah. Well, Charles, send me an email when you want to come on the air, and if you want to talk about gears and things like that. I've had a real rough go with a transmission, and it's a General Motors / Chrysler joint venture, and the transmission is called New Venture, NV 3500. It's a 5-speed stick shift transmission that General Motors and Chrysler developed, and then they gave up on. They just couldn't get it right, and they don't even make parts for it anymore. So my 2001 standard transmission Chevrolet pickup truck, I've had the transmission rebuilt. It lasted. They put all new gears and synchronizers and bearings, the whole Megillah, everything except the case was replaced, and it lasted 600 miles. And they just rebuilt it again. And so, putting this transmission in and out is a pain in the neck. But so I said, all right, so what's the deal? And normally I would have rebuilt the transmission myself, except you need a jig to put this thing together, to hold all the gears as you drop them into the case. Well, and that's one thing. And the other thing is, I couldn't buy the parts for what this gear company could buy the parts for, and then put it together, etc., with their expert. And this guy really is an expert. Bottom line is, I asked him, I said, okay, so what happened in 600 miles? He said the gears, the metal that the Chinese make the gears from, is too soft. Have you heard of that, Charles?
Oh, in commercial industrial processes, all the time, things like that can happen.
Yeah, so if you ever want to come on the air and talk with me about that and teach the class, let me know. Send me an email, okay, Charles?
I've been wanting it, and it's on its way.
Thanks so much. Thank you, Charles.
Thank you. Bye.
Dr. Norm Shealy's with us in class. If you want to get your vitamins, mineral supplements at the same place I do, you can go to normshealy.com, NORMSHEALY.com, normshealy.com. Last time I was there, which was a couple weeks ago, I guess, when I did the past life regression study, and with Dr. Shealy, I bought 4 more youth formulas and 3 more Dr. Shealy's essentials, and you can too. Very quickly, Dr. Shealy, we've got Lee in Ohio on the line. Do you need any more volunteers for the past life regression study?
No, I'm doing fine, thank you.
Okay, great. All right, so Lee in Ohio, welcome. You're on with Dr. Norm Shealy.
Good morning. Let's see, Dr. Lee, I was curious. First of all, I should say thank you. Thank you for dedicating your time to helping us to understand how to get healthy, be healthy, and just providing all the stuff that you do, information as well as all the things that Vince has been talking about at your clinic. So, first of all, thank you. Second, what's a basic way that you can, or what's the easiest way you can to me that I might understand how to make kefir, I think they pronounce it, but, where you just make your own.
Fine. Well, I mean, you can buy a bottle of plain kefir, and as long as you leave about 1 cup minimum in the bottle, and you can fill it with fresh, either dried powdered milk or fresh whole milk, or even skim milk, I suppose, and it'll make within 24 hours at room temperature.
And how much do you use? Like, say, I've got a cup of old kefir, or previously used kefir. How much do I use for the next one? Is it just a quart, a gallon?
Well, I make 2 quarts at a time, and I leave 1 cup of the original stuff. So I add 7 quarts of milk or fresh milk to 1 quart to make a half gallon.
Let's see. So it was 1 cup to half gallon is what it makes, or is how it makes. And when I just mix it and let it sit for 24 hours, is that what it was?
Yes, it likes at least 76 degrees, by the way.
Okay. What happens if it's hotter than 76?
Oh, it'd be fine. It'll bake a little fast if it's 80 degrees, but
okay,
it won't make it as fast if it's under 76.
And the consistency, am I looking for thick type of, I've had one that's really thick, and I really enjoyed that, and I thought that's something my body could get into. Is it supposed to be consistency, thicker than the stuff obviously you buy in the store? It's liquid?
Well, it varies a lot on how much milk you put in. I make all my stuff from dried powdered milk, and it tells you, how many cups of dried powder equals a cup of regular milk. But I think it's the consistency is pretty determined by the bacteria in the mix.
And then after that period of time, it just goes in the refrigerator. Is that supposed to be kept? Okay.
Yeah, it needs to be refrigerated for sure.
So 1 cup held over would be my starter, if you will, for the next batch. That's the way it works. And
that's what I've done for years.
That's good. I like that. So I only have to buy it 1 time and just keep on making it.
As long as you keep making it, once a week roughly, or how often you use it. Yeah. I don't look at it for many weeks how it would work, but.
Okay. And then the quantity. I could almost, my body enjoys that stuff. I could almost eat that all day long. Is it wrong to have too much of that in your system, to eat that like regularly? Because it hurts my body less. There's certain foods that just hurt my body, and I like, I gravitate towards foods that don't hurt.
Well, I drink 1 or maximum 2 cups a day.
Okay, that's good.
I imagine you could take more or less, but that's been the pattern I've used for many years.
That's good. Now, the jumping to another topic, the protein, whey protein. Does it make a difference for different types of protein? Because the one I get is just a generic one they have in the supermarket. Should I be looking for something different for protein?
Well, in general, you're getting to make about 20 to 24 grams of quality protein. And all whey protein should be quality protein.
Okay, thanks for your time, guys. Thank you.
Hey, Lee, I have one quick question for you, in 30 seconds or less. Why do you listen to USA Prepares?
You know, for a variety of reasons. I just like the information without the nonsense.
What do you mean the nonsense?
You know, most of the stuff that I hear on the radio is just full of nonsense.
Okay. And I was listening to your dialogue with Dr. Norm Shealy, and I was thinking, gosh, this guy Lee in Ohio, he could fill in for me anytime, because he wants to know who, what, when, where, why, how, and then he repeats it to make sure he's got it right.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Lee, don't be a stranger. And I meant all of that as compliments. Dr. Shealy, thank you so much for being with us.
Hey, have a great one.